Hi, it's Ottie here. I'm a 6-time world champion freestyle kayaker, and today I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of my favourite paddles and why they are my favourite paddles. Starting out strong, we have my number one favourite paddle, the Wner Double Diamond. Now this paddle is my workhorse, and I switched to it in 2023, so almost 2 years later the same paddle is going really strong, and I just love how strong and reliable it is as a paddle. Now I use this at a length of 191 centimetres and a 0-degree feather, which I find at my height of 5'6" that it's the optimal size for me and helps me progress my paddling. Now I've always used 191 centimetres 0 degrees, but here's the reason that I switched this paddle. Number one, I love the dyno edging. I don't know if you've ever put your paddle in your car and then got a splinter. That really annoys me. So I love that these don't give me carbon splinters. For this paddle I actually stuck to the normal size shaft just because that's what I've grown up using and I really like it. And yeah, I just love how strong it is. It gives me a lot of power in my tricks. One of my favourite things to do when I get a new paddle is to tape it up. I've got some cute orange and pink electrical tape, and then in the winter I put a load of soft surf wax on it, and then in the summer I use hard wax. But yeah, this is my favourite paddle. I think 191 centimetres is a fantastic length for anyone kind of my size. I generally paddle small or medium boats, and yeah, I think this paddle is phenomenal. Paddle number 2. So for C1 freestyle, also known as canoeing, I use the Wner Bandit, and I really love this paddle. I switched to it a couple of years ago, and this one is 140 centimetres. But I'm going to give you a little bit of a backstory just because I don't want anyone going out there and just buying a 140 centimetre C1 paddle. When I started doing C1 freestyle many years ago, I used a really little paddle, and it was the fraction of the length of this. I won my first C1 World Championships with it, and it was a bit of a spoon, if I'm honest. But as I got better and better, I progressed to a slightly longer paddle, and a couple of years ago I decided to try this, which was Harry's paddle. And I really loved the extra length, and I loved all the extra leverage it gave me, and it just made my tricks feel so much better. So I ended up switching to the Wner Bandit at 140 centimetres, and I haven't looked back. I would be careful if you're going to start doing C1 that you don't start out with a paddle that's too long. I think it's a good idea to start with a slightly shorter paddle, work on your technique, work on your shoulder strength, because I don't want anyone hurting themselves. But I think once you're strong and confident, this paddle is fantastic. Now, some of the things I love to do with my paddle, like my K1 paddle, I put electrical tape and wax here. But then I also love to use self-amalgamating tape at the top here. It's really sticky, it's actually almost fallen off, so I need to retape that soon. But yeah, I think this is a fantastic paddle, and I'm a big fan. Paddle number 3. So this is my squirt boating paddle, and this is a Mitchell blade. It's 187 centimetres long, and it has a 40-degree feather. And here are the things I like about it. So to have a little bit more context, I've used a few different squirt boating paddles. Before this I had an Afine Spanker, which was also a great squirt boat paddle, but I had it set at a 0-degree feather, which I loved for a few years, and then on the lead up to the 2023 Freestyle Kayaking World Championships, I was doing a lot more mystery training where you're effectively doing this underwater, and I was finding that the 0-degree feather was catching underwater, and I had this in the garage, which was a hand-me-down from Claire O'Hara, one of the greatest female freestyle kayakers all time, and I decided to give it a whack, and I loved it. So this is now my go-to squirt boat paddle. And here are the things I like. So I love the length. I think 187 centimetres is great. 30-degree feather I think is fantastic if you want to do mystery moves, because it means you're not getting the water catching on the top blade as much. Similar principle to all my other paddles, electrical tape, but this time I do a different colour on my left and my right, and that's because a lot of the time in squirt boating I'm doing what's called a heli bonus, where I'm spinning the paddle round really fast with 1 or 2 hands, and sometimes, like right now, it just swaps, so my right hand blade is actually my left hand, and that gets a little bit annoying. So I know that orange is left, pink is right. When I was younger, actually it's still here, my dad used to tape up my paddles, so in like sailing, red is for the port side, which is left, and green is for the starboard side, which is right. I don't want green tape, but same principle. So we've got red on this side and black on this side, and I think it's fantastic. Again, a little bit of wax does no harm. I think it's really good. It means you don't have to grip as hard on your paddle. So yeah, big fan of this. And again, I love the shape of it here. It doesn't seem to catch. It's a really strong paddle, and it doesn't seem to give me carbon splinters, so big points there. Paddle number 4. This is my river running and creek boating paddle. Now, I don't want to be the best creek boat in the world, nor do I want to be sending the gnarliest rapids in the world. But I do want to go out and have a really good time with my friends and my family and stay safe and just feel confident out on the water. So with that in mind, I choose the Wner Double Diamond because it's a really familiar and easy paddle. In an environment that's always changing and often is high consequence, I think you want to feel really confident in the equipment you use. So I like to use the Double Diamond as it's just something that makes me feel confident. I use it at a length of 194 centimetres and a feather of 15 degrees, which is slightly longer and slightly higher feather than my freestyle paddle. But I just love the way it feels when I'm paddling my big boat. Now, the main difference actually is that this has a small shaft, whereas my freestyle paddle has a normal size shaft. And the reason in freestyle that I use a normal shaft is that's what I've grown up paddling. You know, I don't have any elbow or forearm issues, so I didn't want to change it. You know, if it's not broken, don't fix it. But for this paddle, I just did it as an experiment, and I have to say I'm really enjoying having the small shaft. I feel like I can get a good grip on it. You know, I have quite little hands, and yeah, I'm a big fan of this paddle. It feels really strong. It makes me paddle confidently. It gets me to exactly where I want to be. If there's an eddy, I've got a strong body, but I also know I've got a blade that can give me as much power as I think I need. So yeah, I'm a really big fan of this, and I love trying to keep things simple and not overcomplicating them with flash, fancy racing paddles or other equipment. You know, this is a fantastic paddle, and yeah, it makes me feel really confident in my boat. So that's it for my little paddle video. It is freezing cold out here. I don't know if you can see the colour of my hands, but it's so beautiful. I thought it'd be a good day to film a video. So I hope you like this. If you have any other suggestions for kit you'd like me to talk you through or anything else, please let me know in the comments. And if you could subscribe, I would really appreciate that. All right, bye bye.